The general state of this issue is a significant federal-local conflict. President Trump's order to deploy the National Guard and federalize the D.C. police force to combat crime and homelessness is a highly contentious move. While the administration cites a need to restore order and address a perceived crisis, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and other local officials dispute these claims, pointing to official data that shows violent crime is at a 30-year low. The deployment of approximately 800 National Guard troops and hundreds of federal law enforcement agents has raised concerns about the use of military force for domestic law enforcement and the potential for civil rights violations. The order also includes a plan to clear homeless encampments, which has been criticized by housing advocates. The legality of the federal takeover is being questioned, as it challenges the limits of the District of Columbia. This situation highlights the unique and often strained relationship between the government and the District of Columbia. President Trump's order to deploy the National Guard to Washington, D.C. stems from his administration's stated belief that the city is facing a public safety emergency. The primary reasons given for the action are a need to address a rise in violent crime and the city's homelessness crisis. The administration's claims are based on specific incidents, such as a high-profile assault on a former staffer, and a general argument that local authorities are failing to maintain law and order. According to the president and his allies, the deployment of the National Guard and federal law enforcement is necessary to liberate the capital from what he has described as crime, savagery, filth, and scum. However, this justification is being challenged by local D.C. officials, including Mayor Muriel Bowser. They contend that the president's portrayal of the city's condition is an exaggeration and does not align with official data. Mayor Bowser has stated that violent crime rates are actually at a decade's low, and that the federal intervention is an unnecessary and politically motivated overreach of authority. The federal intervention in Washington, D.C. has a number of significant consequences. Legally and politically, it raises serious questions about the limits of presidential power and the unique status of the District of Columbia. D.C. lacks the full autonomy of the state, making it vulnerable to federal takeover under the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. This action is seen by many as a direct challenge to local governance and a step toward federal overreach. Socially, the deployment of the National Guard and the new federal law enforcement presence could have a profound effect on D.C. residents. It has been criticized as an aggressive and potentially dangerous use of military force for domestic policing. Additionally, the plan to clear homeless encampments has been met with opposition from housing and human rights advocates, who worry about the well-being and safety of vulnerable populations being forcibly removed. This move has been described by some as an authoritarian tactic, reminiscent of historical chapters where politicians used similar rhetoric to justify aggressive action against predominantly black cities and neighborhoods. Solutions to the situation involve both immediate de-escalation and long-term policy reforms. Immediate solutions would involve rescinding the order to deploy the National Guard and federalize the D.C. police, allowing local officials to maintain control. This would honor the District of Columbia Home Rule Act and prevent further legal and political conflict. Dialogue between the federal administration and D.C. officials could also be reestablished to address concerns without resorting to military intervention. Long-term solutions would focus on addressing the root cause